What do you think is a dinosaur? Or what makes a dinosaur a dinosaur? It's a question that seemingly isn't asked much if you're not in the paleo field. As a child, typically if anything is prehistoric, it's a dinosaur. In this video, we will be debunking these assumptions and talking about things that aren't quite dinosaurs. Let's start out easy. Out of this random assortment of animals, what do you think is a dinosaur? If you've guessed pelican, you're right. We all love our beloved pelican. But why is a pelican considered a dinosaur out of this group? Well, we can turn to phylogenetics and cladograms for the answer. Trust me, scientists love phylogenetics. Phylogenetics can be tricky to interpret if you have no knowledge about how to read them, but let's explain this simply and in reference to the order/genus mentioned before, those being Dimetrodon, Plesiosaurs, Pterosaurs, Marsuchus, and Coelurosauria. Dimetrodon was not included in the previous phylogenetic tree because it would be considered an outgroup to these reptiles. Dimetrodon would be in the synapsid therapsid branch of the tree, as it is an early stem mammal, contrary to being a reptile. Plesiosauridae is, according to this tree, we will consider plesiosaurs, amniotes, and also diapsids. They are a sister clade to ichthyosaurs. They are not considered to be an archosauromorph because that is what the other group diverged into when the splitting event occurred at the diapsid node. Pterosaurs would be more closely related to dinosaurs than the plesiosaurs because they diverged later than them, but earlier than dinosaurs. Marsuchus and Coelurosauриdae are not included in this tree. We know where they are located using other trees as reference. They would be located about right here, before Dinosauria, but after Pterosauria, which isn't really represented on this sadly. As mentioned before, Dimetrodon isn't even close to being a dinosaur, but it's just often jumbled into the dinosaur bag in media, toys, and other things simply because it's prehistoric.
Surprise, surprise. Surprise, surprise.
And looking vaguely reptile-like. The genus, meaning there are multiple different species under one genus, but they're still considered dimetrodons. They wouldn't be considered reptiles because they are synapsids, meaning they have a single opening behind their eye in the skull, called a temporal fenestra, which dinosaurs have two openings, meaning they're diapsids, di meaning two. Despite the idea that their large iconic sailbacks were used for regulating heat, that idea has grown a bit outdated due to new research. It is now hypothesized that it was used for some kind of courtship. The previous idea was thrown out because of large species being found with relatively small sails. They lived during the Permian period, meaning they went extinct 40 million years before the first dinosaurs ever appeared. Dimetrodon is a predator that walks with a semi-sprawling posture that is common with early synapsids. For the sake of all paleontologists, please leave it in the Permian and not grouped with dinosaurs. The same can be said about plesiosaurs and ichthyosaurs. Contrary to being a marine dinosaur, they are instead marine reptiles, as they do not meet basic criteria to be a dinosaur, that being a member of the Dinosauria group of reptiles. They first appeared in the fossil record from the late Triassic and lived until the end of the Cretaceous. They had evolved from a group called Sauropterygia, which were believed to have returned to the sea. We can only hope for the future that plesiosaurs will not be forever cursed to be pop culture water dinosaurs. Now, let's get into the discussion of the creatures that were actually somewhat related to dinosaurs. A common misconception is that pterosaurs, such as pterodactyl and quetzalcoatlus, are just flying dinosaurs. Ironically, flying dinosaurs are real, but they're just modern day birds. Pterosaurs branched off from soon to be dinosaurs in a group called Ornithidae. Pterosaurs, meaning winged lizard, which first came around the late Triassic to end of the Cretaceous. However, just because they're not dinosaurs doesn't mean they aren't important. In fact, did you know pterosaurs are the very first known vertebrates and reptiles known to have evolved the power of flight? Now, if we want to dive into why aren't pterosaurs grouped with other dinosaurs, is a scientific and taxonomical matter. We need to address the differences in their fossils. Well, first off, they have evolved way before the group Dinosauria emerged. Usually, the specimens under the classification of Dinosauria have at least one thing in common with their skeleton, that being their hip socket has an empty hole in it. Pterosaurs do not possess this structure. They evolved from the bipedal ancestors, which were able to use their forelimbs for other things, which gave way to their wing adaptation. They have wing membranes like bats, except for the fact that their wing surface formed by a thin membrane attached to the pterosaur's fourth finger. After the divergence from pterosaurs, we reached the group classified as Dinosauromorpha, which the soon-to-be dinosaurs evolved from. But here another group diverges, a group called Lagerpathia, or Lagerpathae? Oh, jeez. These small creatures, when they are quickly glanced at, can be easily mislabeled as being true dinosaurs. However, these little guys are actually something else. They are more closely related to pterosaurs than they are to dinosaurs. They are classified as the oldest diverging species of dinosauromorphs and are some of the rarest fossils to be found. They were around during the Triassic period. Now, let's dive into why Lagerpathidae are not considered dinosaurs. First off, they do not have the hole in their hip socket that is the defined characteristic for all Dinosauria. They also have numerous skeletal similarities to pterosaurs, but rather than to dinosaurs or to other basal forms of early dino precursors. They had a pterosaur-like head cranium, along with four limbs that were more dinosauromorpha-like. Now, next, in the early lineage after Dinosauromorpha is the dinosauriforms, which evolved from Dinosauromorpha. As you can probably guess, these are relatives which are closely related to dinosaurs than to Lagerpathia were. From this new group, we observe another branching species known as Marsuchus. Marsuchus lived around 227 to 229 million years ago, during the Middle Triassic. Their fossilized remains were located in South America, and their fossils suggest that the creatures were small, around 12 to 16 inches long. Now, you're probably wondering, how is this not a dinosaur? It looks like it would definitely be one. For that, we have to analyze its skeletal structure, where we find a clear answer to that question. Although they had some skeletal structures that were prominent and similar to the species within the group Dinosauria, such as having elongated pubis and presence of anterior trochanter on the femur. They also lacked a defining trait. As you could probably guess based on the trend we have been seeing, it does indeed come down to them not having a hole in their hip socket. Sadly, that makes Marsuchus unable to be classified as true dinosaur, and instead is dinosauriform. Next up is the last group before the true dinosaurs emerged. The closest precursors to actual dinosaurs that we currently know of are Dracors. They're the closest group related to dinosaurs, estimated to be about approximately only half a meter in length. Some paleontologists believe that they may even be a paraphyletic group of Ornithocera. Dracors have a small, light build and are considered the sister group of Dinosauria. However, they just don't meet the mark to be considered a part of the Dinosauria group due to certain skeletal aspects. Unlike true dinosaurs, coelosaurs, aka Dracors, lacked certain bony projections on both of their necks and upper arm bones. And you can probably guess the last skeletal difference is? Yep, you guessed it. No hole in their hip socket. Instead, their hip socket were closed and solid inside. Here is your obligatory morsel of actual dinosaur content if you somehow got clickbaited into watching this video. And if you gotten this far, thank you. You are now armed with the knowledge to annoy your friends, family, and maybe even random children you see. It's your job to tell those 10-year-olds that they are not playing with a dinosaur, that they are playing with an aedosaur that is a pseudosaurian, and they should be ashamed of theirself.